On Monday last week, me and Tommy went to Amsterdam courtesy of PlayStation UK. We got hands-on with Horizon Zero Dawn, and I'm here to tell you all about it. I've been excited for this game ever since the very first reveal, and we finally got to play it. I really wasn't sure what to expect due to Guerrilla previously only having made Killzone and Riggs, both first-person shooters, but Horizon Zero Dawn is wildly different from a shooter. It's a third-person, open-world RPG, and I think it fits very snugly into that well-established genre. Set 1,000 years after an apocalypse, nature has taken back the Earth, and the visuals help to tell that tale. Beautiful landscapes with nice character design, animations, and a weirdly kind of cool contrast between the old and the new. Ruins of the past with robot animals roaming the landscape, alongside more traditional flesh-based animalia and tribal humans. The human race now worships the All-Mother, which I think seems to be, or at least is linked to the sun or sunrise. Aside from the machines, there are still relics of the past dotted around. One item, the focus device, Aloy wears and uses as a key gameplay feature. Speaking of Aloy, that really is the name of the main character, whose shoulder you'll be spending most of the time looking over, her movement, camera and controls seem to flow really nicely. I had no issues with the camera whilst moving through the environment. Melee combat is fairly basic with a light and heavy attack, but this can be linked into sync attacks from above and from stealth positions, which offer a bit more versatility. The majority of combat comes in the form of weapons and gadgets Aloy has at her employ. Your primary weapon is a bow. From the shopkeepers I'd interacted with, I found there to be several types of bows that you can purchase and equip, along with 2 different arrow types, standard metal and flame arrows. These can be used to do damage to your enemies, some more susceptible to fire, meaning you need to use the more expensive flammable arrows. Machines also have soft spots. Sometimes these canisters or camera eyes are things that you can knock off or destroy with a single shot. This deals huge bonus damage to the machine, or in some cases removes a type of attack from their arsenal. This kind of stuff is detailed nicely in your notebook upon first scanning a machine. Aloy wears a small triangular object I mentioned earlier on her temple called the focus device, something she acquires very early on in the game. This adds another layer to the gameplay, giving her the ability to scan for enemies, tag them with a marker, view the routes they're going to walk, and also discover their vulnerabilities. Other than her trusty bow, there seems to be a fair few additional weapons that can be used to enfeeble our mechanoid foes. A favourite of mine being the rope gun, which can pin enemies to the spot, making it easier for you to get those critical strikes. I think certain weapons are more effective against different types of enemies. This obviously means you need to think about your approach and attack, which weapon you're going to use, depending on which type of enemy you're fighting. As with all open world RPGs, Horizon has a plethora of main story quests and side quests. The discussions with the characters reminded me of Mass Effect, allowing you to dig deeper into the narrative or press forward with the quest at hand. The main story itself I won't touch on too deeply as I don't want to drop any spoilers. There are many side quests, and of the few that I tried, I found there to be quite a bit of variance in what the tasks were. One quest asked me to find a lost daughter and investigate an area and discover some possible clues. Another was a timed trial where I had to hit critical points on enemies as quickly as possible to achieve bronze, silver or gold reward chests. I'm hoping the variety of side quests continues to expand the more we dig into the game. But from what I've seen, they seem to flow nicely along with the main storyline quest and deal out fairly generous rewards. A shopkeeper NPC sold me some maps, which then proceeded to update and litter my map with collectibles. Not exact locations, just general areas. I think this is something completionists will love, and something that could happily be ignored if you weren't into that kind of thing. One of the secrets I collected was an ancient data tablet with an audio recording on it, which gave me a little glimpse into what happened prior to the apocalypse. Hopefully these are merely additional lore to the main story, and all will be revealed without having to collect every scrap of data. I did enjoy stumbling upon these organically, however, as it kind of drip-fed me little dribs and drabs about the machines and who created them. Crafting is a cornerstone of many RPGs, and Horizon Zero Dawn delivers on that in a similar way to Far Cry, giving you incremental upgrades to things like your ammo capacity and inventory storage, each getting slightly more expensive. All of your ammunition has to be crafted by you, using materials you find by killing enemies. From what I could tell, destroying various parts of enemies would mean that it would restrict or at least lessen the chance of a certain item from dropping. So, for example, the Watcher's weak point is their eye. Striking this with an arrow deals huge damage, but I found that I would rarely, if at all, get the Watcher's lens item unless I stealth killed them, leaving their giant glowing face hole intact. Generally I didn't struggle to craft anything that I wanted. On the odd occasion I was short on ammo, I usually had more than enough metal shards and sticks to craft some more. The crafting does go a little bit deeper than just allowing you to create items. The enemies also drop upgrades, which can be slotted into weapons and your outfits to give you bonus damage or resistance to certain types of attacks. Early game, slotting an item means that it's lost, and if you want to slot a different item, then you must destroy the upgrade that was previously used. However, I did spot a perk that allowed unslotting of upgrades, presumably making them reusable or perhaps allowing you to sell them once they've outlasted their usefulness. Speaking of upgrades, there is a chunky little table of skills and perks available to Aloy. These are split into 3 categories. The first, Prowler, seems to be focused on giving her more prowess in melee combat and enabling more stealthy movement. Brave, the second category, has more of a ranged focus. Things like faster reloads, multiple arrows per shot, a perk which slows down time as Aloy focuses and aims her ranged shots, as well as a column which gives better armor penetration, presumably for melee as well as ranged. The final column, Forager, as the name alludes, seems to aid you with collecting materials and crafting, as well as abilities which help you manipulate the AI. One really notable ability is one that summons a mount for you regardless of whether you've overridden a machine. Overriding is kind of like hacking a machine, and when you override certain machines, you can use them as mounts for transport. I hacked a Strider, and it seems to allow you to use it for combat as well as riding, which I thought was quite a cool feature. I couldn't seem to override more than one machine at once, so sadly my dream of a robotic herd of rampaging Rohirrim ended before it began. It does appear that we will get the ability to upgrade our override device so that we can hack and control bigger and badder enemies as the game progresses. In terms of scale, if the total map size, compared with the area that I explored in just 3 to 4 hours with the game, is anything to go by, then this will be a rather large game indeed. I think things like mounts will cut down the travel distance, as well as craftable items that allow you to fast travel to towns. I'm pretty happy with the size and scale of the game. It does really feel like a sprawling world to get lost in. Overall, I was very pleasantly surprised with how nice the game felt. I've been a fan of these kinds of open world RPGs since games like Baldur's Gate and Morrowind. There are definitely some close parallels with games like Far Cry, specifically Far Cry Primal, but I do think Horizon has done a good job of establishing a few of its own little gameplay quirks and seems to have been inspired in many ways by lots of different RPGs, putting all of those inspirations into a giant pot to create a quite lovely experience. I will mention now that FPS at times did flounder. I did find that this would dissipate if I waited for a little while, so perhaps it's more to do with assets loading in than unoptimised areas. We also played on the standard PS4s, not PS4 Pros, so I'm hoping that playing on a Pro will iron out any FPS drops in 1080p. The first 3 hours of the game really flew by, and I really did want to continue digging deeper and discovering more of the world and lore. I hope that later in the game, for those that don't wish to spend tens of hours exploring and questing, that it is entirely possible for you to get the full storyline experience just by sticking to the main storyline quests. For any fans of action RPGs, I do feel like this is going to be a bit of a hit. I'm suitably excited and can't wait to play it at home for myself, but sorry Xbox fans, this is a PS4 exclusive. Well, that is all we've got time for, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. Smash the like button if you did, and leave me a comment to let me know what you thought of Horizon Zero Dawn. Until the next video, good noon!